Today on Primetime Local News, I'm joined by Trevor Blois with 2020 Seed Labs. Today we're talking about disease in crops. So Trevor, what can you tell me about fusarium?
So fusarium graminearum is a specific species of fusarium. It's a fungus that has a host range primarily with cereals, but it can infect corn as well. A few other specialized crops like hemp too. But primarily, it's an issue with cereals, and the big problem that it causes is fusarium head blight. And that is, you'll see it showing up in your harvested grain as shriveled, sometimes they're called tombstone kernels. When it's being graded, those are called fusarium damage kernels, or FDK. And the big issue with that is that those have high levels of a mycotoxin called vomitoxin or deoxynivalenol. And that, when you have a high enough amount in your grain, when you're using it for different end uses, causes an issue. So if you're using it for feed, especially non-ruminants like hogs, they're only able to tolerate very low levels. Like the name of the mycotoxin, vomitoxin, kind of gives you an idea of what it might do. And so it can cause other sorts of issues as well. For human consumption, obviously, we don't want to be eating it as well. With malting barley, it causes foaming if it's used for malt.
And I'm wondering, just how easy does this spread?
It spreads longer distances by seed for sure. If a region hasn't seen fusarium graminearum historically, and you take seed in from outside of the region that's been infected with a pathogen, and this goes for all sorts of seedborne pathogens as well. But if you're using infected seed in an area that hasn't seen it before, then you're going to be introducing that pathogen to the region, and that's the big issue. In historically in Alberta, we have had lower levels. In the longer picture, at least up till about 2012, we started seeing it spreading throughout the province. But it's still kind of patchy. So there are still some areas, I still talk to growers every once in a while, that this is like, sometimes even this year, they're like, this is the first time I'm seeing this. So it still happens. But it can spread shorter distances as well, just in the wind. It produces ascospores that are airborne. And so on infected stubble, it releases the spores into the air, and it's able to travel shorter distances, much more likely, but up to kilometers.
Okay, and you said that it looks like numbers are going up. What's the cause of that?
2016 was exceptionally wet. Last couple of years have been kind of as well. 2019, 2020. 2021 was drier, as we know. So we can anticipate overall the levels being lower across the province, but as Rachel said, we've already seen some that's been at around 20%. I'm starting to see high levels kind of down in southern Alberta still, where it's irrigated more so, and particularly with durum as well, which there are different between the different cereal crops. There are different susceptibilities. So durum's more susceptible than wheat, and then barley is more resistant, and then oats, we rarely see it present in oats. So that's kind of the range of susceptibilities that you see it there. So this year, it might not be as bad, but we are starting, the more testing we're doing, the better picture that we get. As far as, along that eastern border, it kind of separated a few years ago. Looked like the central Alberta was kind of, it was wetter around that area than southern Alberta, right? They were drier down there. So the last couple of years, it's been wetter in the central and east of Edmonton, southeast of Edmonton. It's been particularly wet if you look at the rainfall maps, right? And so that's a big part. Another thing is that Saskatchewan, on average, does have more fusarium graminearum present. That they haven't been regulating it as we have over the past few years, and with Manitoba, they have thresholds in place for recommendations for what to use, but it's likely that because of the airborne nature of it, and since Saskatchewan could potentially have higher levels, and we do see that with the samples that we test from there, then it's more likely that the proximity to Saskatchewan increases the risk of seeing fusarium graminearum be more present in those fields than further west would.
Trevor, thank you for your time today on this. And as a last note, you said that you guys would like to see more samples sent in for testing.
The more samples that we test, the better our data is. So
yeah, perfect. Have a great day.